The ticket number 12 is in. Let us go back to New York.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 37 of Cover One, the podcast. Happy to be here. Happy to be back with you, talking NFL draft stuff per usual. We've got a ton of stuff to get into. Week 6 of college football. We are entering week 5 of the NFL. So hopefully your favorite teams out there are doing well. You could be 4-0 like the Kansas City Chiefs. You might be 3-1 like the Buffalo Bills, or you might be like the Cleveland Browns and be 0-4. Hopefully you're not 0-4, but if you are, you might as well start paying attention to this podcast now, because there's plenty of draft stuff that we're going to get into. But first and foremost, I want to tell you that Cover One, the podcast, is brought to you by First Down Playbook. First Down Playbook is the number one playbook resource for football coaches with over 30,000 plays. First Down Playbook is a database of youth, high school, and flag football plays, color-coded with coaching points for every position on every play. Check it out today at firstdownplaybook.com. First Down Playbook, one place, all the football. Trust me, folks, it's an amazing resource when it comes to watching film and you're breaking down all these prospects. And if you're a football coach, it's even better. I mean, you get to utilize it every single day on the practice field, especially on game day. It's amazing what you're going to learn using First Down Playbook. But something I want you to learn today is a couple of names. And these players might not even go pro, but I think they have an opportunity to. One is the fourth best rusher in college football right now. You won't even believe who it is. And, Bryce Love is number one. Rashad Penny is number two. But number 4 on the list, it's not Saquon Barkley. It's not Ronald Jones. It's actually somebody that plays at Notre Dame, and that's Josh Adams, number 33, the junior running back. He's 6'2", 225, and right now he's got 658 rushing yards on the year with 73 carries for 9 yards per carry. He's got 4 touchdowns, and first 3 games of the season, the guy was seeing 18, 19 carries a game. The last 2 games, Michigan State and Miami, Ohio, he has seen a total of 17 carries between those 2 games. And you normally look at that and say, okay, well, maybe he's catching a lot of passes out of the backfield. No, that's not the case. But what I do believe is that in both of those games, his team was winning by more than 20 points. Boston College, they won by 29, and he still had 18. But I do believe he did most of that within the first 3 quarters. Against Michigan State, they were up 38-18, so I could see if he got benched. And then Miami, Ohio, 52-17 was the final there. And he had 8 carries for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this is a player, though, that I think you need to be paying really close attention to as the season moves along here. They play North Carolina this Saturday. And at 3:30, it's at North Carolina. North Carolina's a 1-4 football team. Josh Adams, in my opinion, has tremendous amount of upside to his game. And with that size, 6'2", 225, he looks very patient coming out of the backfield. He's not going to be that jump cut type of guy, the guy that's going to just, completely juke you out of your shoes, but he's going to be that north and south guy, and if you don't move out of his way, he is going to bring you down. But I've watched some of his tape. I've been actually pretty pleased with it, and I'm curious to see what he can do moving forward now that I've kind of circled his name, and I think he can do well, but those are things that sometimes I jinx a guy or something. But he's been productive at Notre Dame. Last year he finished just under 1,000 yards. In 2015, he finished at 835 yards. So he's a player, again, that I think you need to circle, you need to put on your draft board, and I'm curious to see what he can do against North Carolina this weekend. Another name that I am very intrigued with is Steve Ishmael, wide receiver from Syracuse. This is a player that I watched this past weekend against NC State, because if anybody has been following this podcast for the last 6 or 7 episodes since I've started doing the NFL Draft podcast here for Cover One, the podcast, you would know that Ryan Finley hive is the house that I built. That is my house, and you will greet me at the door with hello. They played NC State, and yes, they lost. Syracuse, they lost 33-25. But Steve Ishmael jumped out right away whenever Syracuse had the ball. And when you're watching NC State defensively, you're watching Bradley Chubb, who we will talk about momentarily. But Steve Ishmael had 6 catches for 120 yards and 1 touchdown. He was averaging 20 yards per catch. I mean, it's amazing at what this guy has done so far this year. 51 receptions, 632 yards, 2 touchdowns. In 2015, he had 7 touchdowns. And production-wise, as far as receptions and yardage goes, he's already beat what he ever did between 2016, 2015, 2014. It's all career highs for him. He's been very productive at Syracuse. He's been on a bad football team there at Syracuse as far as winning and losing goes. But he's 6'2", 209. He's a senior. Number 8, if you needed to know the number. And I think when you're watching Pitt-Syracuse this week from the Carrier Dome at 12:30, because why wouldn't you be watching that game? You need to pay attention to Steve Ishmael. So 51 receptions, 632 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy looks like a deep threat with the average that he's carrying with him per reception. The yards per reception that he is carrying is absolutely phenomenal. So he's a player that I would definitely be watching close attention to as the season goes along. And we've really kind of got to that halfway point, right? I mean, we've already got 5 games in. Teams are now entering, week 6. And, I mean, it's unfortunate for us as football fans, but I think it's a lot of fun. So I hope you pay attention to Josh Adams, Steve Ishmael. Again, there's a ton of names. I'm going to go through more names as we move closer and closer and closer to the draft. But those are 2 right now that I watched this past weekend. I watched a little bit on film over the last couple of days, and I was like, hey, I like these guys. I want my people to like these guys. So Josh Adams, Steve Ishmael, pay attention to them. As for something that you need to be paying attention to, Thursday Night Football, that is Lamar Jackson versus Ryan Finley. I'm not talking Tom Brady versus Jameis Winston. Look, I'm excited for the Patriots and the Buccaneers, but I am excited for Louisville versus NC State. You've got Lamar Jackson, potentially quarterback number 1, versus quarterback number 8, Ryan Finley. Yeah, I know. Ryan Finley, quarterback number 8. Is he a first-round pick? I do have a draft Twitter question for it, so we will jump into it. But Jackson Finley, I think it's going to be fantastic. And the reason being is when you look at Lamar Jackson, we already know what he can bring to the table. He's the Heisman winner from last year. He is absolutely just a dynamic player all the way across the field whenever he's got the ball in his hands. Last week against Murray State, hopefully this is good enough for everybody out there. He had 249 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, no picks. He had 7 carries for 100 yards. He had a long of 30. He had a touchdown on the ground as well. But you just look at what he's done over the course of the season. 64% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 3 picks. Just over 1,600 yards, and then running the football wise. I mean, what's not to love about the guy? Because he's as mobile as they come. He, in my opinion, the most mobile quarterback I've seen since Michael Vick. Last year he had 1,500 yards on the ground. This year he's already got 437 on 72 carries for 5 touchdowns. So I think he's doing a really good job with the football. I think he's making really good decisions. He's more accurate now than he's ever been in his career. He looks comfortable in that pocket. He's making the adjustments that are needed. And at 6'3", 211, there's really no size concerns with Lamar Jackson. I think he right now is an NFL quarterback, and he's going against a guy that I think is also an NFL quarterback, and that's Ryan Finley. Ryan Finley, 6'3", 210 pounds, a guy that's still got some more eligibility, but he's been very, very good with the football as well. He's playing almost like Alex Smith type of football, and I think if Alex Smith can go number 1 overall, hey, why not Ryan Finley? I'm kidding. I don't think Ryan Finley will be the first overall pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. But I do think Ryan Finley can be a very productive quarterback at the next level. I think he's going to be very productive tomorrow night at home against Louisville, where I do like NC State at home in this game. But Ryan Finley, 1,400 yards on the season, 9 touchdowns, no picks. He's completing just under 72% of his passes, 71.9 if you want to be exact. But he played South Carolina in week 1, which they lost. And he threw the ball 64 times. He had 415 yards and 2 scores. Very impressive against an SEC defense. Against Florida State, which they won, he was 22 of 32 for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. And last week against Syracuse, 20 of 33, 186 yards, 1 touchdown. I think he's limited on the deep ball. They throw a lot of quick passes. They throw screens. They do all that fun stuff that some people are going to knock quarterbacks for doing. But I'm okay with it. It's part of a system, and he's successful at it. If he was, only having 58% of his passes completed and he had 6 interceptions for 7 touchdowns, or 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions like Sam Darnold, then we could be talking about it. But there's not much to talk about when it comes to Ryan Finley from a production standpoint. I think really with him, it's deep ball, power. Can he throw that ball down the field? And ball placement. I think sometimes he takes a little too long to make a decision downfield, but as far as release and ability in the pocket, I think he's okay there. And he looks like an NFL quarterback from the sense of pre-snap reads as well, which if you don't believe me, go to breakingfootball.com. I have an article out from when I really first started watching film on the guy in July. And I broke down some of the pre-snap reads that he does, and I think he does it well. So I'm excited to see Lamar Jackson, Ryan Finley. But another thing is Jalen Samuels. He's a running back. He's a tight end. He's the perfect fit for an H-back. He's been compared to by some as Ty Montgomery. I really like that as a pro comp for him. But I also have seen the fact that, which I believe is, he's similar from a statistic standpoint coming out of college to Charles Clay of the Buffalo Bills now. But I think he's an H-back. I think Jalen Samuels is an H-back. I think he's a really good fit for obviously what NC State's doing. They know how to utilize him. A team in the NFL is going to see what they have with him, and they're going to utilize him because he's athletic as all hell. And he's a player that can get up the field vertically, and he can also change the momentum of the game by the snap of a finger. So Jalen Samuels is definitely a player that you want to circle for tonight's game with NC State and Louisville. And then finally, Bradley Chubb. I talked about him a little bit earlier. I'm going to jump into him more now. Bradley Chubb has been fantastic this year. He's, I think, solidified himself as probably a top 3 defensive end if he hasn't already been there going into the year. I think he's definitely done it now. He's got 29 tackles on the year, 11 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. He's going to be very productive. I think he's going to blow the numbers out of the water from what he did last year, which was 21 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. He's just productive off the edge. He works his hands constantly. He's got a really good burst off the line of scrimmage. Look, Bradley Chubb is a guy that should be a first-round defensive end. I think a team is going to find him. They're going to love him, and they're going to utilize him. And the best part is we're going to get to see him run around and chase after Lamar Jackson. So I think it's going to be a very fun game. Lamar Jackson, Ryan Finley, Jalen Samuels, Bradley Chubb, Louisville, North Carolina State. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun Thursday night game. It's going to be a lot of fun to have both the NFL game and the college game on at the same time. So definitely tune in. Jumping ahead, though, we've got some draft Twitter questions. I've got 2 from my guy on Twitter, Nick Martin. He goes by the Mick Narton on Twitter. He's got 2 for me. And, of course, it's surrounding my boy, Ryan Finley. He says, do you believe Ryan Finley is a first-round caliber quarterback or a second-round guy? And, of course, he's got to torment me with this question because he knows I love the guy. Look, I thought Kirk Cousins was a third-round guy. He went in the 4th round. Deshaun Watson was quarterback number 1 for me last year, and he went as the 3rd quarterback from 2017. Brandon Weeden, he went in round 1. I had a 4th-round grade on the guy. Davis Webb, he got all the first-round buzz going into the draft. And then the first round was over. He got that second round lock type of discussion from a lot of people. He goes in round 3. So personally, I think Finley is a round 3, round 4 guy. I think round 4 would be really late for him. I have no issue saying round 3. But let's be honest, there's always going to be a premium for quarterbacks, especially when you're re-signing or signing them. But I think the same goes when you're drafting them. You want a guy, you have to go out and you got to take him, even if the round doesn't always fit his value. It tends to happen with quarterbacks more than probably any other position in the draft. I think Finley will certainly get second round chatter, but with this last draft class of quarterbacks, how many round 1 quarterbacks are we going to see? You've got Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. Those are probably the only 4 names outside of maybe Mason Rudolph that I'm comfortable saying these are round 1 guys. I'm not ready to say Josh Allen is there yet. I don't think Luke Falk is there. But then you've got Ryan Finley in there as well. So I think when you're looking at the rankings of it, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph, that would probably be a reasonable top 5 in my opinion, with Josh Allen, Luke Falk on the outside, and then there's Ryan Finley. But I think Finley is better than Clayton Thorson. I think he's better than Jake Browning. I think he's better than Jared Stidham. And I think if you look at, DeAndre Francois or Daniel Jones, I think those guys are going to stay put. I think they'll headline the 2019 NFL draft class. But right now, Ryan Finley, he's in the middle of the 2018 class. I think he should go pro. And I think he needs to obviously continue to have a successful campaign. Right now, we're 5 weeks into the year. He hasn't thrown an interception, knock on wood. And I think he will be far away from the round 1 chatter. I think with the amount of talent that's in front of him, he'll stay away from the round 1 chatter, and I think that's good. I think it'll allow him to focus on being a mid-round pick, and I think he's going to be a pro quarterback that can get into that mid-round and find the right scheme, and I think he will be just fine there. But round 1, I'm sorry, I don't think any team is going to roll the dice on him just yet, and I don't think when the draft rolls around, I don't think it'll even get to that point either, unfortunately. But you also ask, do I believe this running back class, the 2018 NFL draft running back class, is comparable to the 1983 quarterback class? And for those that don't know, it was one hell of a class. You got John Elway in there, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien. Hell, you even had Gary Kubiak as a quarterback in this class. But truthfully, do I believe this running back class is comparable to the 83 quarterback class? Truthfully, I don't. With how that quarterback class went, I don't know if we'll ever see a quarterback class that talented. So we'll never see that again, in my opinion, at least for a long time. I mean, I get it happened in 1983, 34 years ago, but I don't think running backs can do it, because I don't think running backs can match what those quarterbacks did from a winning perspective, yet alone a Hall of Fame level of playing. And with how much of a beating the running backs take on a day-to-day basis, I just can't see it. You've got Geis, you've got Barkley, you've got Ronald Jones, you've got Nick Chubb. There's so many talented players in this class at the position of running back, and I get that. And I understand how talented it is. But once they get to that level, the tread on the tires, in my opinion, on a back begin to fall off. Now, I get it. Kareem Hunt is an exception. He had over 750 carries at Toledo. He was fantastic. But then you look at guys like, Mike Hart. Look at Larry Johnson. When he went from Penn State to the pros. So some guys are going to be productive 3, 4, maybe 5 years. But are we basing this off of a 3 or 4, 5 year timeline? Because in my opinion, John Elway, Jim Kelly, those guys, they didn't make the Hall of Fame for 3 to 4, 5 years. No, they made it because of their career that was outstanding. And I think the same thing is going to be the case here, where I don't think all of these running backs are going to have outstanding careers. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be an absolute monster. I'm not really too worried about him. I do like Nick Chubb. I like L.J. Scott. Those are two guys that I was high on in the preseason, and I'll stand by that. Ronald Jones, he's been a big surprise. Geis could be the next Jeremy Hill for all we know. Ronald Jones, he could be the next Felix Jones. Kalen Ballage, he's been kind of a disappointment in my personal opinion. So I've watched so far, they all have their high spots and low spots, but with the history of the draft, I don't know if we'll see another 83 QB class and from the quarterback perspective, and I don't know if we'll ever see a position group match what that QB class did. And then the final draft Twitter question, it goes to Zach Hicks. You can find him on Twitter at ZachHicks2. Is Vita Vea a top 15 talent, the defensive tackle out of Washington? To be honest, I don't think so right now. He's got 15 tackles through 5 games, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. And I get it, stats, that they don't mean everything. But from what I've seen on film, yes, he's explosive. He's got a nice burst off the line of scrimmage. He's strong. I could see him being a 225 bench press monster. But with the way this defensive tackle class is, which is going to be another fun one, I've got Christian Wilkins as number 1. You've got Deron Payne behind him, Andrew Brown and Trenton Thompson behind Christian Wilkins. So I think Vea right now is number 5 on my list. I think he's got the size without question, but he's constantly getting linked, in my opinion, to Danny Shelton, that Vince Wilfork. And if you're going to say Danny Shelton had 17 tackles for loss and 9 sacks his senior year. He was far more explosive, in my opinion, and was an overall better pass rusher. Vea's going to get compared to, even at times, Elijah Qualls. But statistically, it doesn't even show right now if you look at what Qualls did last year. So, yes, Vea's got half the season to go. He could very well finish, with 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, whatever the case could be. But right now, I don't see it. So I'm sad to say that, because I do like what I see from him, but I just, top 15, that's a bit of a stretch when you've got players like Christian Wilkins, Andrew Brown, Deron Payne, Trenton Thompson. I think those are guys that you can utilize right away. You don't really have to worry about what scheme you're going to put them in. Vea could be a guy that's a 3-4 nose tackle, or he could be in a 4-3. Lined up consistently in a 1 technique. I'm not exactly sure where you're going to line him up at. I don't think you're going to have him coming off the edge. So it'll be interesting to see where he tests. It'll be interesting to see where he ends the year. But today, right now, top 15, unfortunately, no. But I do want to let you guys know, Grandstand Sports Network is proud to announce our partnership with Crossover. Crossover wants to help you scout smarter and win more games, coaches and scouts alike. They'll do advanced analysis on your ODK, your offense, your defense, and kicking on your film for you. Give back interactive tendency reports, searchable clips, and advanced statistics in just 12 hours. Stop wasting time in the film room doing all of that tedious prep work. Simply log in and start getting powerful analysis straight from your video. Their new Insights feature will automatically give you a scouting report on your opponents, broken down by down and distance, field positions, specific players, and several other filters. Something else you're not going to get with Huddle or anybody else. Trust me, guys. I've used Huddle as a high school football coach. I've experienced Crossover now, and it's changed my life. Sign up at crossover.com/grandstand to receive 1 free game. That's crossover with a K.com/grandstand to get 1 free game and change the way you watch football forever. Jumping in, though, to Week 5 rookie expectations. For Week 4, I had Joe Mixon, I had Deshaun Watson, and I had Dalvin Cook. And unfortunately, Dalvin Cook's done for the year, torn ACL. I did say last Sunday, I did say I think he's going to get just 60 yards. He ended up with 66. It doesn't even count, though. He got hurt. It's just unfortunate. The guy was a second-round pick. He looked like he was going against all the odds when the draft came out, with the shoulder concerns, the off-the-field problems, and then Dalvin gets hurt and it gets dinged up and done for the year. Unfortunate news for him, the Minnesota Vikings, and all their fans and that team, because the injuries just keep piling on for him. Sam Bradford, Dalvin Cook. I mean, they've revamped their offensive line. They look like a good football team. I mean, they are a good football team. Let's be honest. They are. They've got a good defense. Stephon Diggs is playing lights out right now as far as receiver goes. And they're a good football team, and this hurts. So it'll be interesting to see what Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon do. But moving into Week 5, rookie expectations for Week 5. We've got quite a few here, and I'm excited because Cordrea Tankersley, the corner out of Clemson, I had a late first-round grade on him. I thought he could be a late first-rounder, early day 2 guy, and he was a third-round pick. So maybe my grades are just out of whack. I need a new grading system. But I've been impressed with him through one game with the Miami Dolphins. He played against Drew Brees on Sunday in London, and he's going to stay the starter over Byron Maxwell. He finished with 5 tackles, and he's playing against Matt Castle this weekend. And I think even though they've got Eric Decker, they've got Rashard Matthews, DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry, Delaney Walker, Jonas Smith looks to be like a serious vertical threat for them down the line. And if Corey Davis is back, I don't know just yet. But Tankersley, I like him. He's playing against Matt Castle. I think he's got the ability to be productive. I don't think they're going to roll with Brandon Weeden, and that's the Tennessee Titans because Marcus Mariota probably will not play. They don't expect it to be a long-term hamstring injury for him, but Tankersley versus Castle, the matchup that he's going to get, whether it's Decker or Matthews, I feel confident about it. So I like Tankersley for the Dolphins, and really for an offense that they have in Miami, this is a bright spot for them defensively. So it looks like a nice pick thus far. So we'll see. Moving forward, though, Aaron Jones, the running back out of UTEP, he's now in Green Bay. It's only Wednesday, so we could very well see Aaron Jones become the backup on Sunday if Ty Montgomery plays. And I'll be honest, Aaron Jones isn't even my favorite back in Green Bay. It's Jamal Williams, but he's got a lingering knee injury right now. He hurt his knee on Sunday, and Ty Montgomery's got broken ribs. So Aaron Jones right now is looking like he's going to be the starting back. He's going to play against Dallas, in Dallas on Sunday, and I like what he does. He runs well between the tackles, shows a fair amount of patience when he's approaching the line of scrimmage, and he's got that cutting ability that can make him explosive at times. And against the Cowboys defense that they've allowed 107 yards on the ground, he's going to be paired up with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I think you can definitely exploit the Cowboys defense, especially their run defense. I like Aaron Jones this week. I think he can have a good rookie performance. I mean, yes, he had a rushing touchdown on Thursday night against the Bears, but I think he can do it again against Dallas, and maybe, who knows, maybe even tops 100 yards. So we'll see. Next, Malik Hooker, safety out of Ohio State. He's at Indy. He's had 3 straight games with an interception, and he was my 3rd overall player for the 2017 NFL Draft. He's playing at home this week against the 49ers. Brian Hoyer is he's not a starting NFL quarterback, at least not anymore. And I think Malik Hooker could be good for, 3, 4, maybe even 5 tackles. And I definitely think he's going to get the interception for a 4th straight game. Now, he won't reach Tom Morrow's record of 8 straight games for the Oakland Raiders with an interception back in 1962. But I think 4 straight games with a pick is a great way to start your rookie season. But speaking of starting your rookie season, your rookie campaign, Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback out of North Carolina, he's making his first career start on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings in Chicago. Look, Trubisky is a player that I did like coming out of college. I was not as high on him as I was Deshaun Watson. And near the draft, as I continuously broke down film, I started liking Deshaun Kaiser just even a little bit more. But I still stuck with Trubisky as my number 2 quarterback. But I think right now Trubisky is in a position that I think he can win this game. I know he's going to have his hands full with Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith, Anthony Barr, and that pass rush. But I do believe Trubisky, if he's playing against Case Keenum and the way that backfield is right now in Minnesota, I think they're going to lack a little bit offensively. I think Trubisky could put this team in position to move the ball down the field. They've got a decent running attack with Tariq Cohen, and you've got Jordan Howard. Can he make things work with Kendall Wright and Zach Miller? I think so. So, look, I like Mitchell Trubisky. He's at home. They've gotten 10 days to prepare for this game. and I think he's going to find a way to get his first win. So give me Cardrea Tankersley, Aaron Jones, Malik Hooker, Mitchell Trubisky as the rookie watch for Week 5. And we've got football tonight. We've got Tom Brady, Jameis Winston, Bucks, Patriots, and more importantly, Ryan Finley versus Lamar Jackson. But as for me, you guys can find me on Twitter at RussNFLDraft. And until next time, this has been Cover One, the podcast.